All right, let's dive into one of the greatest, most epic stories ever told, Victor Hugo's Les Misérables. This isn't just a book or a musical, it's the incredible journey of one man's soul, really, from the absolute darkest places you can imagine to the highest peaks of redemption. And that whole journey, that whole massive story, really boils down to this one powerful question. It's the absolute core of everything, asking if a person can truly change and, what it really takes to light that spark. So, our story kicks off way back in 1815. We meet a man named Jean Valjean. And honestly, after almost 2 decades locked away, he's less of a person and more like a walking, breathing wound, just filled with bitterness. 19 years. Just let that number sink in. That's how long he was in for. And his crime? His big, terrible crime? He stole one loaf of bread for his starving sister's kid. A 5-year sentence turned it to 19 because he kept trying to escape. That experience just stripped everything human from him and left him cold. And now he's free. But it's not freedom at all. He has to carry this yellow passport. It's basically a brand, screaming convict to everyone he lays eyes on. No one will give him a room. No one will give him a job. The very society that locked him up now slams every single door in his face. So he's completely exhausted, rejected by everyone, and he just stumbles to the one door that's left open, the home of Bishop Muriel. And believe me, this is the moment where everything, and I mean everything, changes. Valjean walks in, expecting to be thrown out like always. He practically announces he's a dangerous ex-convict. But the bishop, he doesn't even flinch. He just turns to his housekeeper and says this incredible line: he doesn't see a criminal, he sees a human being who needs a meal and a warm bed. But kindness is like a foreign language to Valjean. His entire world has been built on cruelty and survival, so he just can't compute this. And so, in the middle of the night, he goes back to what he knows. He steals the bishop's silverware, which is worth more than he made in all 19 years of hard labor, and he runs. Of course, he gets caught immediately. The police drag him back. But then, something absolutely unthinkable happens. The bishop lies. He tells the police the silver was a gift. He even throws in his 2 silver candlesticks, telling Valjean he forgot them. Then he leans in and whispers this: "It's not just forgiveness. It's a command, a challenge to become an honest man." But, a transformation like this isn't instant. It's not like flipping a switch. Valjean is wandering around, completely shell-shocked by what just happened. And then, just by instinct, he puts his foot on a small coin that a little boy dropped. The boy is crying, begging for it back, but Valjean is so lost in his own head, he doesn't even hear him until it's too late. And that's it. That's the breaking point. The sheer cruelty of his own tiny, petty act, right after experiencing the bishop's huge act of mercy, it just shatters him. He realizes what he's become. He tries to find the boy, but he's gone. And Valjean just collapses. And for the first time since he was a child, he weeps. In that moment, the convict is dead. A new man is born. Okay, so let's fast forward a few years. A new man has definitely emerged, but the past is never really gone, is it? And in this story, the past has a name: Javert. I mean, just look at this contrast. It's night and day. Jean Valjean has totally reinvented himself as Monsieur Madeleine. He's a rich factory owner, a beloved mayor, famous for his kindness. He has literally become the good man the bishop bet he could be. But this whole new life is being haunted by Inspector Javert. Now for Javert, the law is everything. The world is black and white. There are no second chances. He has a hunch about Madeleine's true identity, and he's absolutely convinced that a man cannot change his nature. So he watches him like a hawk. And right under Monsieur Madeleine's nose, another tragedy begins. One of his workers, a woman named Fantine, gets fired by a foreman because she has a child out of wedlock. And that one single act sends her into this horrifying downward spiral of poverty, where she's forced to sell everything, her hair, her teeth, herself, just to send money for her child. When Valjean finally finds out what's happened, he is horrified. He feels responsible. He rushes to Fantine's side, but she's already dying. And right there, he makes this incredibly solemn promise that will steer the rest of his life. He will find her daughter, Cosette, and he will raise her as his own. But as he's making this life-altering promise, Javert comes to him with some shocking news. They've caught Jean Valjean. Some other poor soul has been mistaken for him. So this creates the ultimate dilemma for Valjean. What do you do? Do you stay quiet, let an innocent man rot in prison for you and keep your life? Or do you confess and lose everything all over again? Now, the old Valjean, the convict, he would have saved himself in a heartbeat. But this new man, Monsieur Madeleine, he just can't do it. He can't let an innocent man suffer. So he walks into that courtroom, stands before the judges, and says those 3 words, completely sealing his own fate. This, right here, is the final proof that his soul has truly been redeemed. So he's sentenced back to the galleys for life. But this time, Valjean has only one thing on his mind, that promise he made to Fantine. He knows he has to escape again, not for himself, but for a little girl he's never even met. After faking his death to escape, he finally finds Cosette, and her life is a living nightmare. The innkeepers Fantine left her with, the Thénardiers, are absolute monsters. They treat her like a slave, barely feed her, and bait her for nothing. And so, the final chapter of his life begins. He buys Cosette from the Thénardiers and becomes the loving father she never had. He raises her in secret, always on the run from Javert. Years later, during a revolution, he risks his life to save the young man she's fallen in love with, carrying him through the sewers of Paris. Every single thing he does is for her. Once he knows Cosette is safe and happy, his life's work is finally complete. He dies peacefully, no longer the hunted animal, but a man who has finally found peace. He kept his promise to the bishop. His soul is redeemed. And that brings us right back to where we started. On one side, you have Javert's unbending black and white law, which only saw a criminal. On the other, you have the bishop's mercy, which saw a soul worth saving. Les Misérables doesn't give us an easy answer. It leaves us with that huge question, suggesting that while law gives us order, maybe it's mercy that has the real power to change the world.